The views on a Breath of Fresh Air podcast reflects the parties involved, and we encourage you all to use it as a conversational tool that will lead to personal studies of your own.
Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
Welcome to a Breath of Fresh Air podcast. Here with your hosts, Earl Roberts and Nakhaz Gay. As a young person, Christianity can be so foggy, like smoke in the mirrors and so unclear. But we're here to bring you a breath of fresh air. Look at this. The kingdom of Judah can't be stopped. Look at this. We just defeated 10,000 Edomites in the Valley of the Salt. Yes. What should we do next? You know what? I've got it. Let's try to reunite these kingdoms once and for all. Man, I'm going to send you to Jehoash, the king of Israel, with a challenge. Tell him, come face us in battle.
A message from the king of Judah? What does he want? Let's see. Amaziah, king of Judah. Face each other? Battle? It seems that the king of Judah wants to face the Israelites. Messenger, write this down and return this to King Amaziah. The thistle that was in Lebanon said to the cedar that was in Lebanon, give your daughter to my son as a wife. And the wild beast that was in Lebanon passed by and trampled the thistle. You have indeed defeated Edom, and your heart has lifted you up. Glory in that. But stay at home. Why would you meddle with trouble, knowing that you would fall, and your country with you? Now send that to the king of Judah.
A wild beast? A thistle? Who do you think I am? Some peasant that he can talk to me this way? This seals it. Men, prepare for battle. Welcome to a chapter of conflicts and consequences as we dive into the intriguing narrative of 2 Kings chapter 14. In this episode, we journey through the reign of Amaziah, the king marked by victories and defeats, ambition and pitfalls. Join us as we explore the dynamics of power, the ripple effects of choices made, and the timeless lessons that unfold from a pivotal period in Israel's history. As always, be blessed and enjoy. Welcome back to another episode of a Breath of Fresh Air podcast. Here with your hosts,
Nakhaz Gay
and Earl Roberts. It's just funny, like we done been through so much tonight just to get this production off and running. This might not even be our usual setup, but we just seeing like, oh God, still works tonight. Like,
Yeah, we had technical difficulties. Our first camera
died on us.
Yeah, it might be time to say rest in peace to that camera.
It's probably dead.
Camera number 2, battery is not cooperating.
It's too new.
But thank God for a cell phone.
Hey, taking it back to basics. I mean, other podcasts have started on cell phones, and tonight here we are. So yeah, we don't even know how much time we got, so let's just roll with it.
Yep.
So I got a question for you. Is there a difference between believing in God and following God?
That's deeper than it sounds, but okay, so at the lowest, at a high level, yes, there's a difference between believing and following. However, like at a deep level, if you believe in God, you would follow him, because it's like when God said, whosoever believeth in me shall not perish, but have everlasting life. But you could know that Jesus is God, but you don't reflect the fruits. And then, there's multiple texts in the Bible that say, these people who will not enter the kingdom of heaven, drunkenness, ambitions, and all type of things. But it's not talking about, it's not saying, oh, because you are a non-believer and you a drunkard that you're not going to enter the kingdom of heaven. But it's saying these sins will not enter. So when we compare the two, right, we realize that belief in something, your actions reflect that you actually believe in God and you believe He is God.
Agreed.
When you believe that Jesus is God, you obey Him. You know what I'm saying? And you listen when He asks us to be obedient and when He gives us ways of life and different mindset, you follow that. But if you don't, it's like your actions are speaking louder than what you're saying. Like your actions are saying that I don't really believe that I should do this. You know what I'm saying? Or I don't really believe that you could tell me what to do, or you have it all figured out. Basically,
It's like half-heartedness.
yeah.
It's like 1 foot in, 1 foot out.
I'm trying to think of an analogy. Like
It's like being lukewarm.
it is like being lukewarm, but it's like a lot of times we believe in something, but we put our trust in things that we believe in. Like I don't want to be. I was trying to think of a deep analogy, but I believe my barber is gonna do a good job, and then I trust him with my hair. I don't know what he doing until he about done. You see what I'm saying? Like you feel me? So it's like it's a belief, but then you show that you believe in something when you put your trust into it. But we could say we believe in God, but at the same time we reserve full autonomy over our life and our decisions. And in doing so, sometimes we just rock up sins and we don't care what the Bible says. We know, like a lot of people, like even when you listen to music, sometimes when they referring to like premarital sex, they're like, "Bro, I know this is sin, but," you know what I'm saying? Like they say, like it's essentially saying I don't really care for real. You know what I mean? But yeah, I think to believe is your actions shows your beliefs. You know.
Okay. I mean, I kind of believe the same thing. I think there are people who believe, but their actions don't correspond or line up with those beliefs. So it's someone can make the case that they aren't particularly following. Like you have some people in other religions say, yeah, I'm a non-practicing Jew or non-practicing Buddhist. And I feel like there are Christians who can find themselves, quote unquote, non-practicing.
Yeah. It get deeper and deeper, bro. You have Christians, and then you have the various denomination in Christianity, and that I was just talking to my wife about this week. That kind of like, I just don't understand it, bro. Like certain people, it's like the opposite. They don't believe in something, but they still a part of it, and that really confuses me. You remember I was telling you, so like I had someone I knew. He was saying that this denomination is what he's a part of, right? But he does not believe in like the teachings of the denomination, right? And I was just like, I was trying to articulate to him, bro, if you do not believe, why are you a part of this? Because like this thing specifically, it's like, like multiple doctrines, like Baptists, y'all believe in, I'm assuming baptism. I don't know what the doctrines are for Baptists, like honestly, but you know what I'm saying? It's like being in the Church of God of Prophecy, but you don't believe in
It's
any
like
of the
being
prophecies.
a Mormon, but not believing in the Book of Mormon.
Exactly. You saying, bro,
Not
I'm
to
a
single
Mormon.
anyone out, but
Right, you
yeah.
know what I'm saying? Like that's like someone saying, bro, I'm a Mormon. I'm going to die a Mormon, but I don't believe in that book. And I don't believe in the people who, but it's like, why? Then why are you in it? I don't even know how to best articulate why. I don't think that's like healthy. But you have people who their actions and their beliefs really do not align, and it goes both ways. Some people say they believe in this thing, but they don't act. But some people say, bro, I don't believe in this thing, although I am a part of this. Yeah.
Interesting perspective.
Yeah, definitely.
So this week we should be in 2 Kings chapter 14. If I'm not mistaken, definitely believe that's the verse. Last week we saw. Sorry, I'm trying to pull it up on my screen.
Yeah, what happened last week? We were talking about Jehu.
And Elisha died.
Yeah, Elisha died.
R.I.P.
Was it Jehu? I'm thinking about Joash. I'm sorry. Joash with the temple, right?
Yep. Joash died, and then you had Jehoash, the son of Jehu. So we were focusing on Israel almost. And then they were like, oh, we know Hazael or whoever, Ben-Hadad, those are going to come back and strike you. Like, how much time it's going to strike the earth?
Mm-hmm.
And your boy do it 3 times. And Elisha ran hot and was like,
He was
bro,
disappointed.
had you kept on going, you would have conquered them. But now you just gone
No,
like...
you only wanted them 3 times. Elijah was a tough cookie.
Yeah. And then we also saw like how even in his death, someone was able to come back to life by touching his bones, which is an interesting miracle in itself.
Very interesting, man. Like, even after he gone, even after he passed, he still was a part of another miracle, bro. I don't know if anyone else in the Bible shares
They
that.
said it's coming up towards his double portion.
Yeah, they did. Because one time I Googled, I Googled to see if it was like a 1-to-1. And it's interesting, like multiple people have multiple different things that they count as miracles, what he is a part of and stuff like that. But yeah, they definitely count it. I would include that in his double portion.
All right. So in 2 Kings chapter 14, we see in the 2nd year of Joash, the son of Jehoaz, the king of Israel, Amaziah, the son of Joash, the king of Judah.
Let me give you all a little secret. When I read in these things, I don't even focus on the names. I focus on the nations. And it helps me to understand because you can have a Joash in Israel and in Judah.
Bro,
you know what I'm saying?
What killed me? It's how in the end of this chapter, bro, Jeroboam name would come back.
Jeroboam the second now.
Like, wait, why?
Like, why, bro? Like,
I mean, don't get me wrong. We still do the same thing in today's age, recycle names. And
no, we do, especially kings and stuff like that. You have this person, the third and the fourth, but that's not like 4 generations of them.
Bruh.
Yeah.
So he became king in Judah. He was 25 years old when he became king, and he reigned for 29 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Jehoadan of Jerusalem. And he did what was right in the sight of the Lord. Yet, not like his father David, he did everything as his father Joash had done. However, the high places were not taken away, and the people still sacrificed and burnt incense on the high places.
So it's almost like a cut and paste, It's like one of the main differences between him and his father is that he didn't get the throne at a very young age. It's one of the distinct things about Joash. A lot of people know Joash in the Bible. Youngest.
That's the boy king.
Yeah, it's the boy king. You know what I'm saying? He was preserved. Oh, treason. His auntie? Grandmother.
Oh, so you got me.
Yeah, his grandmother said. And so, but now we can see where the author is just letting you know, like, this guy was just like his father, they did what's right in the eyes of the Lord. However, there was this one Achilles heel.
It's like David was the standard, right?
Yeah.
And y'all trying to be like David, but y'all just falling short, but you're good enough.
Yeah, it's like when you're grading on a curve, you get an A because this is comparative to everybody else. However, you weren't in the 90 percentile.
No,
you know what I'm saying?
No, you ain't really get a 90, but the highest in the class was an 88.
Right.
So you're 85, you get an A.
You get an A because of that, So, and that's very interesting because the Bible, it basically said, this dude he was legit.
Yeah.
He wasn't David legit.
But he was solid.
He was legit though, you know what I mean? He was legit.
He was solid.
Yeah.
These high places though, babe. These high places just...
That's a staple in the community. I don't know what to tell you.
Like, they ain't going nowhere.
Nope.
Now in verse 5. Now it happened as soon as the kingdom was established in his hand, that he executed his servants who had murdered his father the king.
He needed that box.
But the children of the murderers he did not execute according to what was written in the book of the law of Moses, in which the Lord commanded, saying, Fathers shall not be put to death for their
sons,
children, nor shall the children be put to death for their fathers, but a person shall be put to death for his own sin.
I got 2 things to say on that.
Go for it.
Well, firstly, my iPod is dead, and I just try to follow along from what I remember. But
Okay.
A little over, yeah.
But tonight is a night.
Yeah, a little over a year ago, I used to follow this guy on Instagram. He's like a real estate dude, like a Section 8 type of person. Black dude, smart man. He shared his beliefs. He's a Christian. Back to like believing but not believing. So he's a Christian, and he made this post, and he gave 5 examples of how the Bible should not be taken literally, right? And I kid you not, probably like one of the examples was a figure of speech or whatever, but everything else was literally. I think the only example I felt like you should take that figuratively is when it say, or maybe literally when it say, if your right hand offends you, cut it off, type of situation. Because he was basically saying, if you believe the Bible, you would cut off your right hand if it offends you. You wouldn't eat meat, and like he's citing it Leviticus, and you did that, and I had to tell him, I was like, bro.
Did you actually comment?
Yeah, I did. I comment. That's what I'm saying. Like, so I comment on it, and I was like, yeah, I mean, I could see how the Matthew text, but cutting off your right hand could be, seen as figurative speech, but quite literally, the Leviticus stuff that y'all mentioning, that was literal, and it wasn't that they couldn't eat meat. It's just that clean and unclean meat. I tried to explain that. Somebody replied to me, telling me that I only know what my pastors say, right? And I had to tell her, I was like, Mom, you really barking up the wrong tree here, bro. Like I never even hear my pastor get into this level of detail.
You had time that day.
I did have time. And so it was this one dude who fascinated me. He was I don't know what to call him, but he's like he's not a Christian, but he believes in the Old Testament only. So I guess he's a Jew. I don't know how to categorize him, but he started telling me about
all this on the YouTube.
No, this on Instagram, but all this on the same thread. So like I have multiple people like commenting back, but he tried to jump me. You see what I'm saying? But he was like, bro, I realized that Jesus wasn't real. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then he hashtag Hey Zeus, right? He put in a quote, Hey Zeus, like HEY and then Zeus, right?
Oh, here we go.
And I was like, bro, that's the Greek version, but it's like it had to go so much places before it get to the Greek Jesus, which is the way Greeks wrote the name Jesus or whatever. But I'm like, bro, Hebrew, Aramaic, then Greek, and then other stuff to get to us, bro. So how could this and that? And he was getting his gods mixed up. He was like, Zeus is from this and that. And I was like, oh no, bro, you mixing up the Roman god with the Greek god XYZ, right?
It's a common misconception,
right? And I was like, bro, I was like. I went into the DM and I said, bro, I don't know if you. It's like, bro.
My boy hit him in the DM.
Yeah, I was like, bro, this is all love, bro. Let's talk. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, long story less long. He was saying how he born and raised Christian. I think his dad was a pastor, and he realized that Christianity was idolatry because it was a pagan god that they push as God, meaning Jesus, right? And he said, bro, it literally contradicts the Old Testament. He said, how could Jesus die for our sins if Deuteronomy blank verse blank say a father should not be put to death for the sins of his son, and a son should not be put to death for the sins of his father. Every man must die for his own sins. He tell me that, and I was like, interesting. Me and Yana, we was house hunting that day. So I ain't not all the time in the world to talk to him. You see what I'm saying? But it's like in like hour intervals, I would respond and he would respond. We keep going back and forth. We having a really good conversation, bro. I was like, bro, you take me as someone who don't believe in the Bible. He said, no, it's not me. I believe in the Old Testament. And I was like, oh, this could be fun. So we get to talking. And I was like, bro, lastly, I want you to read Isaiah 53. When they was talking about he was bruised for our transgressions, he was wounded for our iniquity, right? And it's a line in there that says that like he did this for us. Like, you know what I'm saying? So and so I was like, bro,
by his wounds we were healed.
We were healed. I was like, bro, this is tangible Old Testament proof that somebody was to be killed for somebody else, right? So we can't say, oh, Jesus is fake, it's idolatry. This is the text. And I'm like, bro, this is wildly taken out of context, because it's one thing to have sins, but at the same time, the way the Jewish laws was back then, it's like, you break the law, you're sinning at the same time. You know what I'm saying? So like we have sins, but we have civil violations too. Like if I drive without my seatbelt on, that's a civil penalty. I'm breaking the law, but I'm not sinning. You know what I'm saying? It's not like I'm lying or whatever. Especially if this isn't like something conscious. And so when you break the law, based on the law, like Torah means the law. You break any of these laws written there, that's a sin. But it's also a lot of civil penalties that happens. You know what I'm saying? An eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, this and that and the third. So basically, everybody must die for their own sin. It's like saying, like, if this sin warrants the death penalty, if like the law that you broke warrants the death penalty, I should not be killing your children and your children's children or your daddy and this and that, because everybody is responsible for their own salvation and they have their own autonomy. My daddy ain't tell me to go steal this person's calf, so my daddy don't have to be penalized for that. XYZ. But the difference with Jesus is Jesus did not sin. Like everybody else we talking about, you have your sins you got to deal with. But Jesus did not sin. That's what make it so beautiful despite all of that. You know? I don't know if you have anything you want to say on that.
Keep going.
The second thing I wanted to say was, I've been reading a lot of, like I was telling you, bro, I just been on YouTube listening to these historians, archaeologists, all type of people just talk about the history of the Bible, right? Now, if you listen to them in a vacuum, especially depending on their religious belief, you would be led to believe that the Bible should not be taken as, you should not look at this religiously. It's almost like folklore and stuff like that. And they're saying this based on who the authors was alleged to be. Like, so like you have books like the book of Matthew, and it's like, bro, there's no evidence to support Matthew wrote this book, right? And even in the earliest transcripts, author is not cited. You understand what I'm saying? And so like they use stuff like this and saying, bro, a lot of these things are not written by the people. You know, this could have been, folklore, this and that. And when we go all the way back in history, like Moses and them, when Moses existed, there's barely any historical evidence, period, like worldwide of around that time. That's not how they documented history during that time. You know what I'm saying? And so if we have books from Genesis all the way to King, there's no evidence of King David. Like
King David, they have like one or two things that show other kings that we talk about in here. It's like they have, I think, one of them, Omri or someone from the house of David.
Right.
That's like the only reference they really have to David.
Right. So like they have like his fourth generation down, and it say like, let's say Josiah of the house of David, right? Now we don't have no other references outside of the Bible about this David, but we have archaeological evidence that proves David, right? So now it's like, okay, so we can't fully use like evidence as a source of truth, like to say if there's no evidence of this thing, that means this thing is wrong or it does not exist, because we have every day we find a new evidence like, oh, that was true.
And I'll finish your point.
Finish your point. At the end of the day, this king is following something from the Torah. This king is following something from the Torah, right? But if you lean on academic timelines of the Bible, they will have you to believe that the book of Kings and the Torah and stuff was written. Like I heard scholars say the Torah was written like around this time in the history of the Bible. And I'm just like, bro, how, bro? Like how did David not have any Bible? You know what I'm saying? Like,
my whole thing is like the Bible itself says the scriptures were written.
The scriptures were written and were read to the kings. You know what I'm saying? And it was commands too, But people argue, oh, all of this was written after the fact. All of this is...
And this is my thing too. Like, I think it's what I was telling you too, is like when you rationalize it, the whole purpose of science is almost to disprove the Bible. And so the Bible itself take a different evidence of faith, because now I think some is just by God's design too. It's easy for you to believe in Moses if you have so much evidence that Moses existed.
Yep.
And now I think about it, ain't only Christians believe in Moses.
No.
You have multiple other
Abrahamic religions,
religions who believe in Moses. Same thing with David. It takes less faith to believe in David if we had
pictures and monuments.
Wait, if we could go right now and dig up where the temple used to be and have different things with David inscribed in it. Oh yeah, David for sure 100% was a real person, because we could do this with Alexander the Great and all these other people. But then you read this book and you hear about David and Solomon. I take an extra level of faith.
They do.
Samson, you take an extra level of faith. all these other like judges that you hear about, it take an extra level of faith because you can't quantifiably prove it. And some might say that's just being naive. But again, there's certain archaeological evidence that prove some of these things. You just can't prove everything about it, but you could prove all most of the Judean kings that we even talking about right now.
Yeah.
There's evidence to support them. So now, granted, they had to come from somewhere. You know what I'm saying? The people themselves came from somewhere. Now you could go into, they was this nomadic people that just came here, or they might have been the Canaanites. I even call them the Canaanites. I mean, quite honestly, Jacob came from Canaan.
Yeah. And so
Abraham came from Canaan, essentially.
See, the thing about the academics and the history and stuff is, I want people who have this line of thinking or will go down these rabbit holes to realize, bro, when the scientists and the researchers, they look this stuff up, it's never inconclusive. They never say, oh, there's no evidence of the Bible. They always find evidence, bro. Like we, for the longest time, people did not believe Daniel reigned during a time when this man called Belshazzar was around. Because if you look at the Persian records, if you look at the Babylonian records, they could tell you it was Nebuchadnezzar, it was his son who was not Belshazzar, and it was another son, it start with a N or something like that. Yeah, Nebuchadnezzar, right? And then during Nebuchadnezzar's reign, the Medes and Persians came. So when you read the book of Daniel, you like, it was Belshazzar, and then the Syrians came. So now you like, bruh, first of all, we don't have no evidence of this man Daniel existing or whatever, right? But now this man telling us something that's completely different than history. Until the wind blow enough, uncover some archaeological artifact. It was like a big stone, looked like a big giant beets pill, and it was written, and it mentioned that Nabuccodonosor at the end of his reign became senile. And so he co-reigned with his son Belshazzar, but they only last probably a month before the Medes and the Persians came and conquered. So now in history, Belshazzar had not accomplished anything. He was new on the job
because no one had a reason to really write about him yet.
Exactly. And so like what I hear my boy Dom say, the evidence of absence is not the absence. I mean, the absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence. Just because you don't have evidence to support something, that does not prove that this thing does not exist.
Shout out Dom. And
so the reason why I went on this little tangent is because when I heard that obviously the author is after all of this happened, right? But when I heard that I can't remember what the king name now, who he dealing with, he avenged his father's death by killing his father's murderers, but he kept it there.
Yeah, but we're in a real tangent for real.
Yeah, no, he kept it there.
I want to keep it going, Dre. Keep going, though.
Yeah. He kept it. He only killed the people that were guilty because he was following the law. However, archaeological evidence and stuff say, the law.
You thinking there ain't no law?
Yeah, the law was written during that time, and this. No, but you can see where these people are acting with this information. They're making decisions based on this information. So this had to have been already in place. That's my line of thinking.
So indulge me for a second, because I just want to keep the tangent going, even though I know we got a whole episode to talk about, right?
Yep.
So I was watching a documentary the other day on Netflix last weekend or 2 weekends ago. It was on the James Webb telescope. And that's a telescope that, is 1,000 times better than the Hubble telescope, the new one that they just launched in 2020, right? And the people, you listen to it and it was yeah, we really designed this telescope to see the first to figure out what happened in the beginning. And I'm bro, people here really just lost,
Yeah.
I'm and it's interesting, right? Because people want to make the argument, y'all just believe in the Bible. Yeah, I do.
I really do.
I seriously do. I do. In the beginning, it tells you what happens in the beginning, but y'all still, they're literally earnestly trying to still figure out, bro, what happened in the beginning. Or we trying to see to the edge of the universe to see, look way out there to see, what happened in the beginning. And I'm bro, y'all looking for God and y'all just can't find him. Y'all can just pick up the Bible and find him.
But we going further and further to the end while looking at the beginning. Like when you playing basketball, bro, you make a turnover, You gotta keep it going, bro. You can't be thinking about the mistakes you just made, bro. You gotta keep moving. You gotta keep moving. Nah, I hate it. We gotta continue. But anyway, so the Dead Sea Scrolls, right? Among the Dead Sea Scrolls is a pretty popular book these days called the Book of Enoch, right?
Oh boy, that's like the punch.
Right, that's the punch for sure. But people love the Book of Enoch because it gives them quote unquote clarity on Genesis. And I don't know if it talks about aliens. I didn't read it, but it talks about Nephilim and angels mating with humans and stuff like that. But it's like you read Jesus' teachings and you say they ain't gonna be marrying and intermarrying and stuff like that. They naming demons and angels, but there's not one demon named in any book of the Bible. There's not one, bro. There's only one angel. Well, Michael the Archangel in Revelation. But other than that, Gabriel is the only angel named.
And technically Lucifer, but...
And Lucifer, yeah. If we count that.
It's like the weird...
Right.
Yeah.
So you read this book and it's like, it's so bizarre because it's
like Raphael and...
Yeah, they got a bunch of... I ain't gonna say a bunch, but they doing things that is out of the ordinary for the Bible. But I say all that to say, even during the time of the Dead Sea Scrolls, bro, or maybe it was about earlier when that book was actually written. It was written in Greek, so it couldn't have been that much earlier. There were people who write about these type of... I don't want to say conspiracy or whatever, but basically some type of... They want to understand some type of sci-fi beginning that we had. You know what I'm saying? Like even during them times, and these were scholars that people believed to be in the caves in the Dead Sea, because they had so much literature, so many different versions of the same literature and stuff like that. But they reading this thing to try as a reference for them to understand the beginning as well. It's bro, I feel like the where we come from in the beginning and all that is an enigma to some degree, especially if you don't have complete faith in the Genesis account, and it's something that is never going to be satisfied.
No.
Unless one day you build a time machine, which I don't believe is possible, you're never going to be satisfied until we get to heaven.
I could go in a time machine too, but I could yield.
Yeah.
All right. So, pardon me, back to our story, our regular scheduled program. So, again, he killed only his father's murderers, and go back to last week's episode to see why they killed Joash. And also read Chronicles. So in verse 7, he killed 10,000 Edomites in the Valley of the Salt, and took Selah by war, and called its name Joktheel to this day. And Amaziah sent messengers to Jehoash, the son of Jehoaz, the son of Jehu, king of Israel, saying, "Come, let us face one another in battle." And Joash, king of Israel, sent Amaziah, the king of Judah, saying, "The thistle that was in Lebanon sent to the cedar that was in Lebanon, saying, Give your daughter to my son as a wife. And a wild beast that was in Lebanon passed by and trampled the thistle. You have indeed defeated Edom, and your heart has lifted you up. Glory in that, and stay at home. For why should you meddle with trouble so that you fall, you and Judah with you?" I kind of like...
That's some trash talk.
Jehoash, I kind of like Jehoash. Like, bro, don't get it twisted.
Don't get it twisted, bro. You beat a small fry.
don't get it twisted.
You see what I say? Like, come on now.
Like, who you think you is, bro?
Come on, bro. Don't cost yourself and your nation, bro.
And Amaziah would not heed. Therefore, Jehoash, king of Israel, went out. So he and Amaziah, king of Judah, faced one another at Beth Shemesh, which belongs to Judah. And Judah was defeated by Israel, and every man fled to his tent. And Jehoash, king of Israel, captured Amaziah, king of Judah, the son of Jehoash, the son of Azahiah, at Beth Shemesh. And he went to Jerusalem, and he broke down the wall of Jerusalem from the gate of Ephraim to the corner gate, 400 cubits. And he took all the gold and silver and all the articles that were found in the house of the Lord and in the treasuries of the king's house and hostages, and he returned to Samaria.
And hostages.
So he told him what's going to happen.
Yeah, he did.
And he said, all right, since you provoke me to this, I leaving those stone unturned. Wait, untuned. Wow. Boy, what a night.
Dum 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 dum. You gotta tune them stone up so
Oh
bad.
my. Even take the hostages, bro.
Yeah, and this how you know people ain't really in a godly nation. You see what I'm saying? Because this ain't an enemy, bro. This y'all should be,
They're all cousins.
yeah. Y'all family. I mean,
You see why there was so much disdain between Israel and Samaria when we come to Jesus' time? Because y'all legitimately attack us.
real dog. Y'all attack us, take
But here's the thing.
hostages.
Is your king come... We wasn't bothering y'all, you know.
No.
Yeah, we was not bothering y'all, bro. I even tell you, bro, just stand down.
Yeah.
My boy should just stay there, bro.
He know, but he
Just
like,
stay there, bro. Like,
he like, bro, dog. Y'all don't want this, bro. Real talk, cause he probably look at his resources and and he like, bro, y'all ain't no match. But I just thought it was interesting that this the man who was upright, not like David though.
exactly. I'm
yeah.
like, and you getting a little too pretentious in your own rights now, bro. Like, okay, you get, a little taste of victory. You ain't consult the Lord and nothing. You're like, all right, bro, Israel, bro, we coming for you.
We coming for Israel.
It's just like, do you not remember we's the bigger kingdom?
Yeah, we the big dogs, bro.
Like, don't let the history fool you now.
Don't let what Syrians do to us fool you now. You know what I mean? Y'all ain't Syria. Y'all can't hang with us.
Man,
And that's what he say. He's like, bro, y'all just beat Edom. Take your victory, bro.
bro, your boy say take glory in that, bro, and stay at home.
Yeah.
Because why should you meddle with trouble that so that you may fall, bro? Like,
That was cocky.
but he live up to it, though.
Yeah, no, he back it up. He
My
back
boy
it
say,
up.
but just stay at home. But you win, bro. Just stay there, bro.
Hey, dog, relax.
Like,
Like,
what I do to you, bro?
real dog, we're like, I don't want to have to do this, bro.
Go on looking for trouble. You get what you deserve.
Yeah, he find it.
Now, all the rest of the acts of Jehoash, which he did, his might, and how he fought with Amaziah, the king of Judah, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the king of Israel? So Jehoash rested with his fathers, and he was buried in Samaria with the kings of Israel. And Jeroboam, his son, reigned in his place.
Jeroboam the second. So, Amaziah, right?
Mm-hmm.
Fight the man who of the same name as his daddy
Quite literally.
and lost. And then, after he lost, the man who of the same name as his daddy, aka Jehoash, king of Israel, the northern kingdom, his successor is Jeroboam. So that's how you know how much of what type of regard they held Jeroboam in.
But the son of Nabat, he was running there.
Yeah, you're right. Let me make that distinction. The son of the Nabat, Jeroboam the first, right? Jeroboam the first created a way of life, a religion.
But there would be no way of life as it is right now in Israel if it wasn't for Jeroboam.
Correct.
He made those people's hearts wicked. Well,
He
he
led the
them
way.
to apostasy.
Yeah, he led them to apostasy, right? But now kings naming they child after him. It's like, it's Jeroboam in honor of the patriarch Jeroboam.
I can imagine them with their cup of wine on their balcony. You see this, son? There would be none of this without Jeroboam.
Without Jeroboam. And that's why I named you. That's why I named you Jeroboam.
All right. So Amaziah. Oh, how you said it again?
I say Amaziah.
Okay. I don't know why that just was whooping me just now, boy.
I mean, you could say Amaziah. I think I've said that before.
The son of Joash, king of Judah, lived 15 years after the death of Jehoash, the son of Jehoahaz, king of Israel.
See how bad this do you in this book, bro? This should have been called the Book of Names. 'Cause boy,
this was Exodus.
Yeah, they got some names in this book. Oh, no, and it's an Exodus happening too. I won't spoil it. There's a couple.
Boy, I tell you. And they formed a conspiracy. Oh, now the rest of the acts of the Amaziah. Wow. Are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the Kings of Judah? And they formed a conspiracy against him in Jerusalem. And he fled to Lachish. But they sent after him to Lachish and killed him there. Then they brought him on horses, and he was buried in Jerusalem with the fathers in the city of David. Mercy.
So him and his daddy get killed.
Boy, I tell you.
Boy, what's going on? See, the people of Judah, they really ruthless now, bro. Like, they killing the king. This 2 generations back to back where the king was assassinated. They send him to Lachish and then they run behind him and kill him.
But he fled to Lachish.
Oh,
They
he
sent
fled.
him.
Oh, all right, yeah.
He
okay.
ran there. They said, hold
Yeah,
on,
he
buddy.
fled, all right.
You thought you was escaping your things?
No, you can run, but you can't hide.
Yeah, nah, where you going?
Where you going, bro? Think Lachish can save you? Eh? All right, then.
And all the people of Judah took Azariah, who was 16 years old, and made him king instead of his father Amaziah. And he built Elath and restored it to Judah after the king rested with his fathers. Jeroboam II reigns in Israel in the 15th year of Amaziah, the son of Joash, king of Judah. Jeroboam, the son of Joash, king of Israel, became king of Syria.
Fun fact, this was during the time that Jonah
Yeah,
lived. Fun fact, Jonah, the prophet Jonah.
that's your friend.
That's my good boy. I know this era all too well.
Oh my, and reigned 41 years. This man reigned 4 decades. It's crazy like how you see some people just reign like a couple months and some people reign like a
Yes.
lifetime.
Good much years, yeah. Jeroboam the second, 40 years.
And he did evil in the sight of the Lord.
Mercy. Straight up. Straight up. But, okay, Earl.
For 41 years, boy.
41 years of evil, right?
Uh-huh.
But no lie, if you didn't have that piece of information, don't you think you could have just automatically assumed that Jeroboam the second,
There's something about that name.
something about that name Jeroboam, I like you could just deduce that he wasn't coming to be
Ain't nothing
upright.
good.
No, if he named Jeroboam, I gonna say something, but that could be a little insensitive. But imagine they name you after a very notorious figure, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, ain't that good
Yeah.
happening.
I was going to say the same thing.
Yeah, no.
Say anyway.
Yeah, we can let it go.
Because when you start going out on people names.
Yeah.
Anyway. And he did evil in the sight of the Lord. He did not depart from all the sins of Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, who made
His
Israel sin.
namesake.
He rested, he restored the territory of Israel from the entrance of Hamath to the sea of Arabah, according to the word of the Lord God of Israel, which he had spoken through his servant Jonah, the son of Amittai, the prophet who was from Gath-hepher. For the Lord saw that the affliction of Israel was very bitter, and whether bond or free, there was no helper for Israel. And the Lord did not say that he would blot out the name of Israel under heaven, but he saved them from the hand of Jeroboam, the son of Joash. Now the rest of the acts of Jeroboam, all that he did, his might, and how he made war, and how he recaptured Israel from Damascus to Hamath, what had belonged to Judah, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Israel? So Jeroboam rested with his fathers, the kings of Israel. Then Zechariah his son reigned in his place. So what's interesting about Jeroboam? Oh,
No, that's good. You good.
okay, good.
Yeah.
Woo.
Yeah.
Had a heart attack. I was like, you're looking a little small there. I was like, oh, not again, not again. All right, but what's interesting is like we're seeing 2 sides of Jeroboam here, right? We're seeing on one, he was still evil for 41 years, but the Lord still used him to do some good.
Oh yeah.
And it's just so interesting the Lord can still use anybody.
Yeah, so it's like you could be, like how, oh man, I try not to be messy, but at a funeral, you could hear
Mercy.
You could hear people reflect on somebody, and that wasn't your experience with them.
You're like, woo, mercy.
Right, but you could hear people talk about how loving of a father this person was, and it might have been your teacher, and he might have been like just a miserable person or whatever, you know what I mean? And so it's like, the mom might not have been a bad king, like, at all. You know what I'm saying? Like, restore the boundary stones that was prophesied by Jonah. Obviously, he obliged. Jonah prophesied and say, God say, do this. And it's like, this for the interest of my country. We expanding, back to a place that was taken away from us. You know what I'm saying? I'm doing that. But at the end of the day, the man still was evil. He still was evil. He was wicked. Like his intentions was not to serve God. You see? So, I mean, I do find that interesting. And it get interesting because what I started to learn about the Bible and just about the way God operates is that, like, okay, so like in Matthew, I think 5, I think like verse 45 or something like that, where Jesus was talking about how God shines light on the evil and the good people every day. So it ain't just because you're a righteous person, you get light and you get to live. You know what I'm saying? The Lord is good to everybody.
Gracious to all.
He's gracious to everybody. You know what I'm saying? Now, there are things you could do to cause consequences on yourself. We do have things called blessings. We do have things called curses, right? But in general, we have
Just realized this pillow was over me the whole time.
yeah, we have such a loving, long-suffering, we serve such a loving, long-suffering God that he's not gonna hold grudges towards you. Because think about it, bro. Like, by the time when God is like turning his back on the nation of Israel because of the king, everybody's gonna pay. You understand what I'm saying? That's like in the book of Judges when they was in bondage because of this and stuff like that. Everybody gonna pay. So now, because if I punish you, this could affect everybody else. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna show you grace and mercy for the greater good because you are the leader of my people. And you know, the hope is that one day you will actually repent. You know what I'm saying? It's not impossible, but considering how all of the kings was so far in the northern kingdom, it's highly unlikely. Same thing can be said about Ahab to some degree. Depending on the scenario, when the prophets come to him, he obliged and he pushed back. Elijah is his enemy one day, right? But when the prophet comes to him, the prophet that was a name comes to Ahab and tells him that they are going to win the battle against Syria, he goes forward and fight. Now, you could argue he didn't have an option, but at the same time, as it was written in history books, they went and fought Syria and he won. Now, the reason why that story was not going to be documented the way Jeroboam's story was documented is because Jeroboam listened to the prophet and they achieved the goal that they sought out to do. Ahab listened to the prophet and fought the Syrians.
And then he had other plans.
He's like, but you know, I could really complete the mission, but that's God's will and it's not my will. And you know, why would I put him above my will?
Exactly. I got some things I got to get done.
Yeah, so I could just hold him hostage and then let him go. And then him and his descendants are just going to rule over my descendants and my nation for decades, for centuries to come, like from here. Like, that wasn't his plan, but that's exactly what happened. And, you know, the Syrians, so let's pivot for a second. Just a quick, brief tangent. Jonah, the son of Amittai, during his lifetime, God told him to minister to the Syrians. So remember, brothers,
was it the Syrians?
It was the Syrians in Nineveh.
Nineveh.
Right? Yeah, Nineveh. So, see, if you don't know where Nineveh is, you wouldn't really know that it's in Assyria, but...
That's true. For some reason, I was thinking Philistine for some reason.
Yeah, no. It's a Nineveh. You see what I'm saying? So, but you would have to know where Nineveh is, right? So, fun fact, Nineveh is a part of the Syrian Empire, right? I believe that was where the king lived at the time. I'm not too sure. But Jonah was asked to prophesy to these people, right? But this is generations after, or maybe not even, this is like one generation after Elisha crying to Hazael because of how wicked he was. When you remember early in 2 Kings when Elisha was like, the Lord has shown me what you're about to do.
Yeah.
He's like, bro, you're gonna rip pregnant women open. You know, you're gonna just wreak havoc to Israel, right?
That he sure did.
And now, for context, Jonah, you can see why Jonah was kind of apprehensive against prophesying or completing God's mission, because God was like, bro, yeah, help save them. Preach to them, you know what I'm saying, so that their life can be saved. And Jonah was like, no. I rather die.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? I rather
go
try.
as far as I possibly can.
I go in the opposite direction. I'm about to go to America, bro. Like he said,
He doesn't want to be Columbus
he
before
going
Columbus.
west, bro. He said I going west. Okay, he didn't go to America. He was headed to Tarshish, which is the south of Spain, from Israel. So he went very far west. But this isn't about Jonah. We're going to talk about Jonah. We're going to have a lot of fun during that book. It's a short book. Very funny book, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? But Jonah, the son of Amittai, makes a guest appearance to talk to Jeroboam II. And for those who did not realize, we going over like a historic timeline in the Bible. So all of the prophets that have books in the Bible, they exist.
I was just going to say that. Keep
Yeah,
going.
they exist during the time of one of these kings that are mentioned in Judah or Israel. So right now that we talk about Jeroboam II, that was the time when Jonah was a prophet. You know what I'm saying? That was his heyday, and so we could see sometimes in Second Kings and in First and Second Chronicles, you could see where a prophet had a direct message to a king. You know what I'm saying? And that's why they make these appearances. Because even some of the kings that was before us, I imagine that there were some prophets that was around during their time, but they're not mentioned in the book. They have not been mentioned thus far.
Yeah, well, like right now, there's like 3 prophets who are going to be living for like the next couple of kings: Jonah, Hosea, and Amos.
Yeah. And you could kind of get that understanding because I think Hosea and Amos, if I'm not mistaken, they talk about Syria as well. So you notice during the time when Syria had an empire. And I think Nahum talks about Syria as well.
Yeah, Nahum came. Yeah, because when Nahum happened, when Judah was not captured yet, but Israel was already captured.
So that's a little later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
Okay.
could be a little later.
Yeah. So yeah, I might be thinking about Nahum. I might not. Amos and the other prophet, they might not have talked about Syria. I get them mixed up, man. I can't wait till we get to studying these books so I could like have a better understanding during that time. But yeah, the northern kingdom, Amaziah. No, that's the southern king. That's the southern king, Amaziah. King of Judah. He bit off more than he can chew.
Ooh, I also just do a quick Google search. Our boy Isaiah about to come on the scene too around this time.
Right. He mentioned in one of these chapters
He come on the scene literally in the middle of
Jeroboam's reign.
second Jeroboam II.
Jeroboam the second reign.
And Joel, the prophet Joel, was actually right before this.
Right. So yeah. So that's what I was mentioning. So it's like there are times when the prophet has a specific message to the king, and Kings writes this in the chronology. You know what I'm saying? And so like you might see a prophet make a guest appearance. When I read the Bible, when I went through the Bible in a year last year, I saw these names, and it's just like you see like Jeroboam's son name is Zechariah, but then in the New Testament you have Zechariah. You know, sometimes names repeat themselves. You understand what I'm saying? So I just was like, yeah, this is just someone else with the same name, Zachariah or Daniel or like Nebuchadnezzar. But when I get to Nebuchadnezzar, I was like, no way, there's 2 Nebuchadnezzars. That name too unique in my opinion. And that's when I started to put together that, the Book of Kings runs concurrently with some of these other prophets.
Yeah.
You know?
So we can land this plane.
I do not know. I mean,
We can land this ship.
let's see. Amaziah did right in the eyes of the Lord, but he became insubordinate, right? He bit off more than he can chew. And sometimes I believe that we could get so full of pride or so full of ourselves, or we could take credit for something that God blessed us with. So you defeated Edom. That's not even documented in this story, how insignificant it is. The last thing we hear about Amaziah was his dad, right? Then this is the intro and the conclusion of him, but they don't even mention his battle with Edom. I guess it's mentioned in the Annals of the Kings or whatever, right?
Whatever that book is.
So it's not mentioned in the Book of Kings, but all we know is after that fight, he had a big head. He was feeling himself, and he picked a fight with Israel and got destroyed. Unprovoked. And got destroyed and failed miserably. And so, like, from just briefly, I just feel like that goes to show, we got to be humble, and we have to actually recognize when God is blessing us or when God is telling us not to do something. Sometimes our own ambitions can get sometimes our own ambition can cloud our judgment, and we could think, bro, God bless me there. He telling me to be unstoppable. But no, he might have wanted you to do this thing, and now you start to become insatiable. You start to say, bro, I want bigger and better. Edom was a small fry, yeah. Now it's time for me to get to the next thing. But sometimes God only calling us to be a specific place. Sometimes our ambition is too big and it causes our own detriment. And that's the case with Amaziah. Amaziah, king of Judah, did what's right in the eyes of the Lord. However, his ambition for war was to his detriment. He picked a battle with the king of Israel and lost horribly. In the next chapter, we'll go over some of the successors of these kings. Amaziah's son, Azariah, reigned for 52 years. And during that time, Israel had 5 kings sit on their throne. But we'll talk more about that on the next episode of A Breath of Fresh Air. Tonight's episode included voice acting by your hosts, Earl Roberts and Nakhaz. Remember to go ahead and research on your own in order to get a more firm understanding of tonight's episode. And if you enjoyed it, make sure to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. You can follow us on social media at A Breath of Fresh Air Pod on Instagram and BOFAPOD on Twitter. Thanks everyone, and we'll see you next week.